So why is Obama meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney? Is he like a foreign diplomat or why? Why is he there? He's retired, isn't he? But lately he seems to be everywhere. He's like in every election that you see. If someone's redistricting, he's in that. The Virginia election, he endorsed Spamberger. He went and told everybody to vote yes to redistricting. He endorsed Katie Porter for governor of California. He's endorsing all the communists, by the way. And now this week he was in Canada meeting with this other communist globalist. The banker from London that didn't even live in Canada until recently, and he somehow became the Prime Minister of Canada. I even heard that he was paid to be a consultant during the Biden administration, and he was being paid like $2 million or something like that. And that allegedly he even had his own little office in Congress or the Capitol or the White House or something like that. That's allegedly. But why can't he just go away? Ask yourself. Was he handling the auto pen by any chance? Because we all know Joe wasn't governing. I mean, he wasn't even all the way up there. I mean, who was in charge, really?
Barack Obama, shouldn't you be at home trying to save your marriage? What am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you. Former President Barack Obama has decided not to go quietly into the political night as other such former presidents have done. No, Barack Obama has decided to stay firmly rooted in politics, and now he is in Canada speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney. Now, why on earth is former President Barack Obama visiting Mark Carney in Canada? Well, no one actually knows. President Barack Obama has been on quite the press tour lately, advocating for the segregation of certain people in voting districts, and also saying that he would reel in the Justice Department if he got to be president again.
The idea is that the Attorney General is the people's lawyer. It's not the president's consigliere.
And also telling us all that the reason that he's having marriage problems is because of President Trump. But fear not, Canada. Even though President Barack Obama has a ton of problems in his own life, he is there in good old Canada to help you save your country. And if you're asking yourself, what on earth is this former American president going to do to help Canada? Well, maybe just go ahead and take a look at what's going on over there in Great Britain. Yeah, see, former President Barack Obama was a mentor to Keir Starmer, and this week they had an election over there, and Keir Starmer's Labour Party is in the toilet. So, good news, Barack Obama is there to do the exact same thing to your country because Barack Obama cannot seem to let go of power. So, have fun with him up there. If you would like to trade former President Barack Obama for Alberta, we could probably negotiate that out. But other than that, have fun with him.
So once again, the Republicans are triggered by President Obama. He could breathe and they'd be angry. And this time they're upset because he met with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. That's it. Carney said on social media, "Welcome back to Canada, President Obama. Thanks for joining us in Toronto for important conversations on how we build a better future." Normal stuff, right? But for MAGA, they think that something deeper is going on. For example, Laura Loomer said, "Why is Obama meeting with world leaders while Trump is in office? This is a coup." She thinks that Obama meeting with Carney is an attempt to overthrow the United States government. Another popular MAGA account on Twitter said, "He's a former president. This violates the Logan Act." No, it does not. Honestly, I don't know what the F he thinks he's doing. The balls the Democrats have, unbelievable. I actually responded to that tweet by saying, "This you," referencing her back in 2024, celebrating Donald Trump meeting with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. The MAGA Republicans hate Obama because he's better than Donald Trump in every single way, and people actually like him. He's one of the most popular politicians in America, despite leaving the presidency years ago. People still love him.
MAGA world found something else to be outraged about this weekend. A video of former President Barack Obama shaking hands with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Trump himself spent part of Sunday posting about Obama on Truth Social and blaming him for the Iran situation. Okay, that makes sense. Obama left office almost a decade ago, and this is the political equivalent of blaming my college roommate for my stocks going down. It makes absolutely Oh, what a shocker. It makes no sense.
And everybody is forgetting, and it should have been a much bigger deal, that Donald Trump spoke to Vladimir Putin no less than 7 times when Joe Biden was in office in those 4 years, and then came back to be president. So if you want a Logan Act violation, please redirect your attention to Mar-a-Lago.
Okay, so recently, a lot of people inside the MAGA movement are furious or have been infuriated by the fact that former President Barack Obama was recently warmly welcomed in Canada and met with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. But then, honestly, the outrage feels completely overblown or out of, you know, and it says more about the obsession these people have with Obama than actually anything that Obama has said, because it's like they're always watching Obama. I mean, Obama is just a former president, and he's not the only former president the United States of America has had. There have been many presidents, former presidents, but one continues to really be a problem with these people for some reason. And the obsession really continues and really shows up here.
MAGA has erupted overnight over Barack Obama visiting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Barack Obama visited Canada, and now MAGA is suggesting that he should be arrested, that he's launching some type of coup. I mean, you can't really make these things up. You have folks like Laura Loomer saying, why is Barack Obama meeting with world leaders while President Trump is in office? This is a coup. You have another one, this is a big MAGA account on Twitter, saying Barack Obama is up in Canada holding private discussions with Mark Carney. Obama needs to sit down and figure his freaking place before his ass ends up in prison for violating the Logan Act. Mind you, Donald Trump met with world leaders in 2024 before he was president again and when he wasn't in office. There's nothing wrong with Barack Obama meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, but it does upset them because Trump doesn't have a great relationship with Carney. And if Obama has a good relationship, well, that's not good for, I guess, MAGA in some way.
Listen, Obama goes to Canada and MAGA lose their minds. Listen, y'all, the man is a United States citizen and he can travel and go and do whatever he wants to do. But MAGA is upset that he's over in Canada and visiting and talking to Mark and things like that. So they're trying to say that he's doing something illegal because he up there talking to Canada, and the Canadians don't even want to talk to Donald Trump. Nope. You know why they don't want to talk to Donald Trump? Donald Trump started all this mess with them. He started that tariff wars and all that with Canada, and they do not have any respect for him. They do not want to talk to him. So guess what? Canada love Barack Obama. So he was up there hanging out, and listen, MAGA done lost it, y'all. They mad. They want him to be arrested. What? So the man can't go to Canada, he can't go talk to nobody because of y'all. Donald Trump all around this world talking to Putin and everybody else. I don't know why he didn't get arrested. He should have been arrested in jail. All the corruption that Donald Trump has done, and you want to go over there and try to start some mess with Barack Obama, the man that's been peaceful, the man that did not bring any corruption to the United States. Come on, y'all. What do y'all think about this?
Well, MAGA is very upset this morning. It's all because Obama was in Toronto and he met with Mark Carney before a gala where he was a keynote speaker at. Check out those comments under that post, shall we? Oh, Obama committed a federal crime where he has no immunity about. Uh-oh. Oh, Uncle Jonah thinks it's a coup. Canada's becoming a national security threat. Okay. More. Oh, I can't wait for Trump to do this after his term's over. Now, I want to dig into this one a little bit. Because there are 2 world leaders Trump 100% did talk to and meet with in between his presidencies. No way. No way. No. Netanyahu and Mar-a-Lago in 2024? There's Trump, there's Netanyahu, 2024, before Trump's presidency, before the election of 2024. Now, who is this guy? Who is that guy? That can't be Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff, that is in charge of the negotiations currently, as of now, with Iran, along with Trump's son-in-law? That can't be. Oh, and also Trump was talking to Putin. He still had communication lines open with Putin. During Biden's presidency, Trump met with Putin, who had the war going on with Ukraine, and Netanyahu, which was bombing Gaza. Interesting.
MAGA Republicans are freaking out because President Obama has reassumed his position as symbolic figurehead in the aftermath of Donald Trump failing so terribly to build up our relationships with leaders like Prime Minister Mark Carney, who met with President Obama just yesterday. Even Laura Loomer is, I guess, taking to the internet to say that this is an attempted coup, but that would never... Wait. Obama 2028. Wait. Obama 2028.
Former President Obama is in Canada, and the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, greeted him as if he was the incumbent. And I can't say I blame him when the incumbent president is constantly mocking and belittling our allies, treating them like adversaries or worse. The Prime Minister tweeted on X, "Thank you for joining us in Toronto for important conversations on how we can build a better and more just future." Honestly, it couldn't be more great because it was such a jab at our president currently, where he'd rather take the call of a dictator than of a friend. Maybe former President Obama should start a tour where he goes and visits all of our allies and apologizes on behalf of half of the Americans that didn't vote for this. Because we know that the current president would have a meltdown if he did this. But at this point, since the incumbent gives us headaches on a daily basis, let's give him one and start the Obama apology tour all across the world.
Guys, so I was having this exchange with this gentleman on social media today on Facebook. And we were talking about, well, we started talking about Michelle Obama versus Melania, but somehow we got onto the subject of Barack Obama. And so he said that Barack Obama was the worst president we've ever had and that he was the most divisive president we've ever had. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen where a lot of people, particularly MAGA, they've said that Obama was so divisive. And so I just want to focus on that. And let's just stop pretending. Let's just be truthful. A black man, people, did not divide this country. Racism did. And stay with me because I'm going to explain to you what I mean. His presidency forced people to see it, whether they wanted to or not. Because what exactly made him divisive? I mean, every speech the man gave, he talked about unity. He always said, I'm your president, it did across party lines. He was everyone's president. He was supporting America, the entire country, whether you agreed with him or not. So what makes people say that he was divisive? I mean, was it his policy or was it his presence? And that's what I think it was, his presence. When he got elected, there was an immediate movement questioning whether he was even born here. Not disagreement. Guys, that was delegitimization. That wasn't policy. That was about who people believed had the right to sit in that office. When he passed healthcare reform, suddenly it was tyranny. But similar ideas before him, because he didn't just come up with affordable healthcare on his own. Remember, Mitt Romney had basically suggested the same thing for his state anyway. So it wasn't necessarily 100%, his idea. He didn't sit down at a table somewhere one night by a candle and write it, okay? But they did not treat him the same when he came out with this. When he said in response to the Trayvon Martin shooting, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. You already know that really set him off. He was called divisive for acknowledging something that black families understood without explanation. I don't think it was just black families either. I think a lot of white families understood exactly what he was saying. And what he was saying was the absolute truth. That could have easily been my son, who went to that store, got those Skittles, came back and got confronted. When the Ferguson unrest happened and he called for calm and accountability and understanding, he was still called divisive. Not because of what he said, but because of what people heard. And what they heard was a challenge. It was a challenge to the version of America they were comfortable with. So let's be honest. Divisive became a code word, a way to say, I don't like what this represents. Because a lot of people were fine with the idea of equality until it looked like him, until it had power, until it couldn't be ignored. So no, he wasn't the most divisive president. He was the moment this country had to confront what it had been avoiding for a very long time. And instead of dealing with it, people blamed him for it. Not because he divided the country, but because he exposed how divided it already was. What do you guys think?
So Obama visits Canada, and somehow the internet turns this into a coup conspiracy? Former President Barack Obama recently traveled to Canada, and parts of MAGA world completely lost it. Online influencers and conspiracy accounts started suggesting that the visit was tied to some kind of shadow political operation or coordinated efforts behind the scenes. Not diplomacy, not a public appearance, a coup conspiracy. And this is where politics in America is dangerous, because we've reached this point where even a former president traveling internationally can instantly become proof of a conspiracy, depending upon who's online first. No evidence needed, no facts confirmed, just outrage and algorithms. Now, to be clear, it's sad to even have to say this, but it's obvious Obama is not involved in some sort of coup attempt with Canada or a legal political operation of any kind. But the speed at which these narratives can spread says a shit ton about the state of the political discourse right now. So yeah, Obama visited Canada, and somehow that was enough for part of the internet to convince themselves that democracy was ending.
I've been noticing for years that the Trump cult is absolutely obsessed with Barack Obama. So I decided to do some research to try and find out why the MAGA cult is so obsessed with Obama. Barack Obama has not been president for 10 years, and MAGA can't stop talking about him. They're literally obsessed with the man. They try and blame him for things that are happening today. That's not random. There's a psychological reason for that, although it seems a little creepy. Here are the 4 reasons the Trump cult is obsessed with President Obama. 1. The psychological wage of whiteness. In 1935, sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois at Atlanta University studied poor white Americans. White Americans, even the poor ones with no money and no power, felt superior to black Americans. Not because they earned it, but because for 250 years the entire system told them they were superior to black people. The law said it, the church said it, the culture said it. Du Bois called it the psychological wage of whiteness. This is a status payment people collect just for being white, a floor that white people couldn't fall beneath. Then Barack Obama became president. He occupied the highest status role in the country. That destroyed the floor. And when a status floor breaks, people don't quietly adjust. They backlash. Obama didn't just win an election. He took something they didn't even know they were depending on. They didn't earn this special status, but they thought it was stolen when Barack Obama got elected. And they've been trying to take it back ever since. 2. Social identity threat. Psychologist Henry Teifel at the University of Bristol spent decades studying in-group conflict. What he found was when a member of an outgroup outperforms the in-group, the psychological response is not one of admiration, but hostility. Teifel called this social identity threat. A failed black president would have confirmed the Trump cult's worldview, but Obama being polished, competent, scandal-free, and widely respected by world leaders made it impossible to call him incompetent. The better Obama performed, the more threatening he became to the cult. Not because of his policies, but because his success directly contradicted everything they believe about the natural order of things. He wasn't supposed to be better. He wasn't supposed to be a gentleman and a scholar, and yet he was. That doesn't just go away. When weak, mediocre people see someone they believe was inferior reach the highest office in the country, they don't get inspired. They become filled with rage. They feel lied to, and they need someone to blame for the hate and rage. That target is Obama. Everything they could never be. 3. Scapegoating. Obama left office in 2017, but his name never left the conversation because Trump spent more than a decade smearing his name. It all started before Trump was even president. Trump spent years pushing the birther conspiracy, claiming Obama wasn't American, wasn't legitimate, wasn't one of us. That wasn't politics. That was a deliberate effort to strip Obama of his humanity and plant him in the minds of millions as the source of everything wrong. Then when Trump took office, the playbook continued. Every problem needed an explanation. Economy struggling? Obama's fault. Crime rate rising? Obama's fault. Anything going wrong in the country? Obama's fault. Psychologists call this scapegoating. Assign one figure as the source of all your problems and anxiety, which then collapses onto that single target. It feels like clarity to his followers. It feels like understanding. It isn't. Trump didn't just keep Obama's name alive. He spent over a decade turning him into the villain of the story. And to the Trump cult members, this story still is true. 4. Cognitive dissonance. Here's what made the obsession permanent. The MAGA cult couldn't call Obama corrupt. There were no scandals. They couldn't call him incompetent. The record didn't support it. They couldn't even call him unpresidential. He was polished, disciplined, and respected around the world. Psychologist Leon Festinger at Stanford University studied what happens when people are confronted with evidence that contradicts their deeply held beliefs. Weak people don't update their beliefs when confronted with contradicting evidence. They double down on their original beliefs. Festinger called this cognitive dissonance. MAGA was left holding a belief system that Obama's entire existence disproved. And instead of resolving that contradiction by updating their worldview, they resolved it by hating him harder. The obsession isn't just political, it's psychological. And it has nowhere left to go. So it goes out onto everyone else in rage and obsession. Obama is living proof that the psychological wage of whiteness doesn't exist anymore. And to weak people who never earned that status in the first place, it feels like an identity crisis. So they obsess more, say his name more, talk about him obsessively all the time. They even have a name for this now, Obama derangement syndrome. Because Obama didn't just win the presidency. He broke a hierarchy millions of people thought was permanent. And they've been trying to undo that moment ever since.
Now, let's be real here. Former presidents of the United States of America, if we were to be specific, and even other former presidents across the world, travel abroad all the time. You know, they attend events, they give speeches, they meet other world leaders, you know. This is normal. It has been happening. It happens, you know. But the moment Obama does it, suddenly some people online start screaming about shadow presidents, conspiracies, and secret political interference. Why is it so? And I think the reason is obvious here. Obama, as a person, still has that enormous international respect and charisma, and that clearly bothers a lot of people in these MAGA circles. I don't know if because they love to compare their president, Trump, with Obama, or because Obama is a black man, or it has to do with one or both of those, and whether you really agree or disagree with Obama politically, the man really still carries himself with a lot of calmness and confidence and a lot of presidential stature with this man. When he walks into rooms, even in countries abroad, he's treated like a respected global statesman. That actually, I think the US would actually leverage on the charisma of this man to make him a statesman, to extend and to you can use him to get the US interest listened to abroad. Former presidents have always been used in such capacities, because cameras, they still follow him, crowds pay attention to him, and even other world leaders, they still want to be seen with him, to sit down and have a talk with him. Why not use that, not to your fears, but actually to front America's interest, out there? I think some Trump supporters struggle with this reality, because for years, they were convinced, or they convinced themselves, that Obama was hated, Obama was weak, Obama was corrupt, even though they have never, there's no case in court about any of the corruption, alleged corruption, and or Obama was irrelevant, and that Obama is actually black, because that's actually a point with these people. But every time he appears publicly on the world stage, reality begins to tell them a different story that they're not happy listening to, and that's exactly what is happening here. Because meanwhile, Donald Trump, their president, still remains one of the most, I can say this, most polarizing political figures in modern history, not just in the American context, even globally. We haven't seen someone that, in the recent history, that brutal, that, kind of how he does his things. So when MAGA supporters see Obama getting admiration abroad, while Trump continues to generate a lot of controversy or even hatred, I think for them it creates a certain frustration and insecurity, basically, And here is the irony that makes that outrage even more ridiculous. Trump himself met foreign leaders while he was out of office. Other former presidents like George Bush or Clinton, they also maintained international relationships after leaving office. None of this is seen by these people as unusual. None of them has even been made a big deal out of, or gotten such attention. But then when it is Obama, suddenly people act like Canada and Obama are secretly plotting something dramatic, behind closed doors against America or against Donald Trump. At some point, this stops looking like genuine concern, and it starts looking like just a pure fixation, a pure obsession that you can hardly explain. And honestly, I think what really frustrates some of these people is not the meeting itself, but it is the fact that even years later, the same Obama they did not expect to be this kind of person he has become still has the charisma, the admiration and the global respect that many politicians might actually spend their whole lives trying to achieve and never actually even get it. Yeah. And that's what they're not very happy about. What do you think about it? Let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section below. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.